This is Daily Armenia, ＳիվիլՆեթ's daily news digest. Here's what's making headlines in Armenia today. Armenia's parliament approved the first reading of a bill to initiate the country's European Union integration process today, passing it on to a second reading stage. The legislation passed with 63 deputies voting in favour and 7 against, while the opposition boycotted the vote. The government approved the draft law last month, with Prime Minister Pashinyan clarifying that any final decision on membership would require public approval through a nationwide referendum. The initiative originated as a grassroots civil movement, with pro-European non-parliamentary forces collecting signatures in support of EU integration. After gathering the required 50,000 signatures, the proposal was brought before Parliament for consideration. During today's discussion, Deputy Foreign Minister Parur Hovhannisyan stressed that the adoption of the bill is not an application for Armenia's membership in the EU, but enshrines the deepening of relations with the body. In the meantime, Armenia is hosting the first EU expert mission as part of developing the Armenia-EU Visa Liberalization Action Plan. Earlier on Monday, the country's Deputy Interior Minister, Armenian met with the mission's members according to the ministry's press service. During the meeting, Hazaryan addressed several key topics in the visa liberalization process, including the current migration situation, introduction of new biometric passports, and citizenship matters, as well as migration and asylum management. Armenia's Defense Minister, Suren Papikan, met with his Indian counterpart, Rajnath Singh, during an official visit to India yesterday. The meeting, which included discussions on expanding defense collaboration, was also attended by Aram Jivanyan, chairman of Armenia's Military Industry Committee. During his visit that started over the weekend, Minister Papikan presented Armenia's approaches to regional security issues and its Crossroads of Peace initiative, aimed at unblocking the regional transport links. The project, designed to counter Baku's demands for a corridor through Armenia's southern Sunik region, has been met with a cold reception in Azerbaijan. A notable highlight of the visit was Papikan's attendance at Aero India 2025, Asia's largest aerospace and defense exhibition, being held at the Yelahanka Air Force Base these days. The minister also held a brief discussion with General Anil Chauhan, India's Chief of General Staff. The strengthening of Armenian-Indian military cooperation has gained momentum since 2020, following the devastating loss in the 44-day war and the subsequent Azerbaijani incursions into Armenian southern territory. Armenia has become a significant importer of Indian armaments, acquiring munitions such as howitzers and air defense systems. While the Defense Ministry reveals little about its acquisitions, it is apparent that it has concentrated on India as its primary supplier, replacing Russia, with the total value of the military supplies expected to amount to $2 billion. Armenian Prime Minister Pashinyan's visit to the United States last week has raised discussions about the future of US-Armenia relations under the Trump administration. The state of US-Armenia relations has never been stronger since Armenia became independent. It's imperative to take advantage of each opportunity to strengthen ties and demonstrate that a strong US-Armenia relationship is important to American strategic interests, said Timothy Jamal of the Global ARM Foundation, a non-partisan NGO tasked with enhancing Armenian ties with the world. During the trip, Pashinyan addressed the International Religious Freedom Summit, National Prayer Breakfast, and the Atlantic Council, and had meetings with the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee and other members of Congress. Most prominently, Pashinyan met with Vice President J.D. Vance, though its informal setting has led some to question its significance. Analysts, however, argue that the Vice President, while traditionally having limited foreign policy power, could still play an influential role. Some observers expected more high-level meetings, while others note that with many US officials still awaiting confirmation, there has been little engagement with most international leaders so far, and additional diplomatic engagements are anticipated in the coming months. Meanwhile, Azerbaijan's credibility in Washington appears to be waning. Despite ongoing lobbying efforts, US lawmakers are increasingly aware of Azerbaijan's aggressive actions and policies, a shift that could impact future US policy in the region. And finally, the ＳիվիլՆեթ number of the day is 90. That's because novelist Hrant Matevosyan was born 90 years ago today, in the northern Lori region. One of his best-known works, a novella called We and Our Mountains, is based on the nature and village life he experienced there. He also wrote the screenplay for its film version, directed by Henrik Malian, and starring some of Armenia's most famous actors, such as Frunzik Mikrtacyan and So Sargsyan. When Matevosyan died in 2002, he was honored by being buried in the Komitas Pantheon. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.